Welcome to the Planet B podcast, where truth, transformation, and faith converge. Join us as we flip the script on ecological despair, guided by Dr. Sailesh Rao's vision for a compassionate, rewilded vegan world. Let's begin the journey to the greatest transformation in human history.
Greetings, everyone, and welcome to episode 13 of the Planet B podcast. Today, we'll take a deep dive into how did we heat the climate. Dr. Rao, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
I love Rumi's poetry. So this episode, let's start with your opening quote by Rumi.
You're not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop. The more we assume responsibility for our actions, the more we realize that everything stems from us. So each one of us can expand our consciousness to include everything in the universe as your responsibility.
So beautiful.
That's what it means, yeah.
So Dr. Rao, the last couple episodes we've talked about this. It's been a deep dive into human history, which has been so fascinating, and looking into the ice ages and the changes and fluctuations in Earth's temperature over time.
Right.
But through the data that you show in chapter 13, something around 6,000 years ago seemed to level out the temperatures. Could you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's straight from the ice core record. Scientists have drilled through the ice in Greenland and in West Antarctica, and they have sliced it layer by layer to analyze the air bubbles that are trapped in the ice. And that's how we know what the temperature was, and we know what the CO2 levels were year by year. And that shows that until about 6,000 years ago, the CO2 levels in the atmosphere matched what was happening in the previous interglacial period, 3 ice ages ago.
Wow.
So it closely corresponds to what was happening 3 ice ages ago. And then 6,000 years ago, you see a deviation. So it, instead of going down, it starts flattening out and going up a bit. Okay, and that's what William Ruddiman calls the human effect. This is what our ancestors did when they started burning down forests, clearing land, and growing crops for agriculture. So you see that signature in the CO2, the carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere, and you also see it in the methane levels in the atmosphere. And the methane is because of extensive rice cultivation and also because of the use of cows and buffaloes in agriculture. And because these cows and buffaloes emit methane, any cud-chewing animal does that.
Wow, so it all goes back to the agricultural revolution then.
Correct. So the agricultural revolution clearly had an impact on stabilizing the climate or the planet during the Holocene era, because that's the only explanation we can come up with for why it took such a major deviation. Instead of going down to another glaciation, the Earth stabilized and stayed in the Holocene for the last 10,000 years. Then you see over the last 200 years, the CO2 levels shooting up, and then the methane levels also shooting up in the atmosphere. So that is the Industrial Revolution. And that emitted a lot of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. And as a result of that, the temperature has gone up by 1.5 degrees Celsius from pre-industrial levels. When William Ruddiman projects it out, he is assuming that we will continue doing what we're doing. And so then the temperature goes up to about 3 or 4 degrees Celsius in his projection. And then he assumes that we'll all die off. It's like, we are mindlessly continuing our industrial revolution until we die off. And then the temperature comes down in his projection and goes back into glaciation. Now, that was the only projection he did. So I am claiming that there are 3 possibilities, not just one. First possibility is, of course, what he said, which is we mindlessly continue the Industrial Revolution, mindlessly kill everything off, and then the Earth goes back to glaciation. That's one possibility. The second possibility is we continue mindlessly heating up the climate, and the Earth does not go back to glaciation after we die off, but just goes off into, the Venus syndrome, which is quite possible because basically when you increase the temperature so fast, literally within 200 years, we've increased it by 3 to 4 degrees Celsius. If you do that, that's like the human body having a fever.
Right.
Okay. If you have a fever of 3 to 4 degrees Celsius, you can die. And so once you die, it can become the Venus syndrome.
Yeah.
Meaning literally the temperature can keep increasing until it reaches 400 degrees Celsius on the surface. Right? And all life could die. When it happens very slowly, over say thousands of years, the Earth has the possibility of adapting to it. But when you do it very quickly, it's a fever.
Which we're doing now, very, very quickly.
Exactly. Yeah, we are doing it very, very quickly. And that's why, when people say that the Earth's temperature used to be this high before, so what is the problem? I'm saying, yes, it used to be this way before, but it took thousands of years to get there. And in which case, the Earth has the ability to adapt to that. But when it happens very, very quickly, it cannot adapt so quickly. Right? So that's the second possibility, that you increase the temperature and then the Earth just dies. And the third possibility is that we consciously start cooling as opposed to continuing to heat. Why?
Right.
Because we know that it's better for us. It's better for all life. So we consciously start cooling, and then we stabilize the temperature at the stable state, which is the thermostat setting from 200 years ago, and maintain it there for as long as we want. So that is the transformation from climate heating to climate healing that I'm talking about, right? And that requires a system transformation of the human engineered systems of the planet.
I like choice number 3 the best, I think.
Yeah. So I'd say, at the end, I am only going to consider choice number 3. I'm not going to consider choice number 1 and choice number 2. It makes zero sense that we would continue to do that. Yeah.
It's interesting because it seems like, this is kind of why possibly that you chose the title of your book, There is a Planet B, is because most of the people in this field are only thinking about number 1 and 2.
Right. Yeah. Because they cannot imagine a different human engineered system.
Right.
So they're just assuming that we are stuck in the system, and that's all we know to do. Now, all human engineered systems that we have today, we inherited. We didn't design any of those. We kind of tweaked them a bit here and there, but mostly we inherited them. So they're all organic, right? They were not designed. And now we have the possibility of designing human engineered systems that work for all of us. And this is why it's important to go through the foundations. It's important to go through, how do you stabilize systems? How do you maintain them so that they stay aligned with nature?
Yeah.
Right? So our generation has the responsibility to re-engineer human engineered systems so that they are stable.
One of the things that we're all trying to learn how to do better is to communicate this message of number 3. How can we communicate this out better to the general public?
I wish I knew. Yeah. You don't know what inspires people. So we are thinking of stories. We're thinking of, we tried documentaries. They only reach the intellectuals. You don't go beyond that. And you have to now think of stories that would inspire faith leaders. I watched the video of this Jain leader who created an event to tell his followers to go vegan. Okay? Because he's gone vegan. So first he convinced himself that he has to do it. And then to convince his followers, he created an event in which he had one spiritual leader, a medical doctor, to explain that it's healthy to do this, And then the third person he had was an athlete, a Jain athlete. So you have to find people within the community who are, a medical doctor, an athlete, a spiritual leader, and finally a young social media influencer. So
Like a panel, kind of like a holistic panel.
It's a holistic panel. It covers all aspects of this transformation. Okay. And then he also had a smorgasbord of delicious vegan food that he said is available in the cafeteria today if you go eat it. Right. And he invited people to come up and taste it. And then he also created a website addressing all frequently asked questions.
That's wonderful.
It's a fairly comprehensive event he created. It's very well thought out. And I thought that's a great way to bring a community along, an event like that. So every community can imagine doing something like that. And that's how I think the message can spread, that we have to move out of this climate heating phase to the climate healing phase. And as I said, climate is just number 4 out of 7. So it's literally healing all 7 planetary boundary transgressions. And that's what you will do when you try to heal the climate holistically.
Yeah, it's very interesting. What fascinates me so much about your book is when you go through all of the human history and the 9 planetary boundaries, and it's so clear that vegan is a solution. I know we'll get to that in the following chapters. I think we're all discovering better ways to communicate that message because it's like you said, everyone is coming at it from a different angle. So it's helping people unite around this Planet B concept.
Right. Planet B is a comprehensive systems engineering framework around veganism. Okay. That's the way I see it. Veganism is the fundamental philosophical change that needs to happen. And it's really just implementing the scriptures of all the religions of the world. Okay? Because all the religions of the world are talking about compassion for all creation. So it's implementing those scriptures with integrity, right, without putting escape clauses. Right? That's all it is.
Yeah. You're not adding any lines to it.
Right. You don't have to. Because we originally probably had to include all those escape clauses because we thought it was necessary to consume animals for our well-being. And now we know it's not true.
Right.
And this is why it was so important in the panel for that Jain leader to have a vegan athlete. So that he had someone there who climbed Mount Everest as a vegan. And he was building his body as a vegan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very beautiful. So this is just a shorter episode. It was more into, how did we heat the climate? But I think it just ties into this moving forward. How will we work to reach more people with this message? Dr. Rao, would you like to share any final words for episode 13?
I want to tell you all that we are only going to focus on option number 3, which is how do we start cooling the climate right now? And how do you start stabilizing it? And that's the rest of all the episodes are only about that. So please stay with us and come along. And don't follow William Ruddiman's option number 1 or the option number 2 that may happen.
Oh, wonderful. Yes. It's an optimistic look in the solutions right here. So thank you so much, Dr. Rao. And episode 14 is really exciting. So episode 14 is how we use the earth, which the statistics are shocking. I think they're very important for people to know. So we hope everyone joins us for our following episode.
This has been a podcast from Planet B, where we stopped confusing convenience with necessity. If you haven't moved here yet, we thank you for visiting.
The house is burning, but we're still sitting in the glow. phones charged, lights on, pretending we don't know. But the forest is silent, the river's running low, and the flame on our plates is the strongest fire we throw. Put out the fire, put out the fire. Echoes and rise, this is your hour. 7 boundaries broken, the earth pushed past the line. Climate, land, species, fresh water, chemicals, nutrients, oceans in decline. Not danger, disaster in real time. Put out the fire, ooh, put out the fire. Metafoodians rise, this is your power. And here in India, one truth stands the same. Milk is not just milk, dairy feeds the flame. Cows and methane, fields and forests turn to grain. Politics, culture, carbon, all wired to the same chain. Every cup of curd is heat in the air, every block of butter is a forest repair. It's not a small habit, it's a planetary affair. Put out the fire, put out the fire. Echoes and rise, this is our hour. Energy fixes half the hurt, Dr. Rao made that clear. But food fixes the other half, the half that's burning here. Change the plate, change the land, change the future's atmosphere. Put out the fire, put out the fire. Metafoodians unite, this is your choir. Every millet, every fruit, every sapseed, every bean is water on the wildfire of a world we've never seen. Every oil-free bite is a river turning clean. This is not perfection, it's direction. Not pressure, but protection. A week of choices can cool a generation. A company's courage can ignite a nation. Put out the fire, ooh, put out the fire. Echoes and rise, this is your hour. Metafoodians unite, Metafoodians ignite, sharing love in the meta zone, light in the path to a cooler